What's going on with this offseason? Well, that's what we're going to try to find out today on Matt and the M's. Hello and welcome to another edition of Matt and the M's, the show that documents the continuing saga that is our beloved Seattle Mariners. I am your host, Matt Sullivan, lifetime M's fan and co-author of the 2016 book, A Fan's Eye View of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Well, if we really want to take a look at what's going on in the offseason generally, there's been three really big offseason stories. Number one is the free agency movement that's taken place. Of course, Juan Soto was the prime peach there, but guys like Corbin Burnes and others have really made a big splash. There were a lot of quality free agents to be signed this year, and they got gobbled up by mostly the haves and the New York Mets. Second story is the Roki Sasaki saga, and that's all going to get settled until the international signing period is open again, and that will be after January 15th. And the other big story, I think, is the lack of activity from numerous prospective contenders during this offseason. Teams like Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Baltimore, Toronto, St. Louis, Minnesota, San Diego, all teams that probably want to contend next year. And of course, we've got to put Seattle into that mix. Other AL West teams have been active, but not our Mariners. And what I think our front office needs to realize is that fans do not ascribe to patience. They want big moves now. If they work out, we win. If they don't work out, at least we tried. And our front office isn't willing to go down that path, probably because front offices generally know more than fans, even though fans don't want to admit it. And we've got people that are concerned about their jobs, too. They don't want to have a big misstep on their record. Such as it is, the Mariners have been linked to a number of players, all of whom carry with them a red flag, not the least of which these red flags are a prohibitive asking price, or they don't help the Mariners in any particular position that we need, or they don't help us in our three areas of desperation. Those three areas are well documented as the team needs to make more contact, we need to hit for a higher batting average, and the guys need to have T-Mobile power. So let's take a look at some of the guys and why they probably haven't been brought in by the club at this point. At first base, Justin Turner seems to be a last resort, largely because of his age. Although he was relatively effective for the Mariners and as a right-handed hitter, should be able to hit against right-handed and left-handed pitching. The Mariners have also been linked to Tristan Casas in Boston. Left-handed power hitter, young, but lots of strikeouts, and the price there for him is probably prohibitive. They're going to want Luis Castillo, and they want the Mariners to take on $55 million by taking on Masataka Yoshida as a relatively mediocrely producing designated hitter. The Mariners have recently been linked to Spencer Torkelson of Detroit, 221 lifetime hitter, but he's only 25. Big strikeouts, had a bad year last year, but the Tigers are going to want a starting pitcher. The Mariners have been linked with Yandy Diaz, but Tampa Bay wants Harry Ford. Ty France's name has come up, but I really doubt that he would re-sign in Seattle after he got blamed for the offensive woes last year. And they've been linked to Ryan Mountcastle in Baltimore, and it's easy to understand why. He's 28 years old, and a 265 lifetime hitter might be able to help us there, but he's an over 100 strikeout a year guy, and his power seems to be on the fade. From 33 home runs 3 years ago to 22, 18, and 13, I don't think we want to dabble there because T-Mobile is going to suck that out of him. At second base, I think we can pretty much say the ship has sailed on Brendan Donovan. St. Louis rebuffed the Mariners because the Cardinals wanted Wooer Miller, and all the Mariners were willing to offer was Castillo. Neither do we want Nolan Gorman, a low-average, big strikeout guy I'm sure that the Cardinals would like to dump. Luis Arraez is an intriguing figure in San Diego. Not a lot of RBI production or power, but a nice high batting average and low numbers of strikeouts would really help us. But I think if you take a look at San Diego, they need a starting pitcher. And Brandon Lau from Tampa Bay is a .244 lifetime hitter who would probably come to Seattle and hit .220. Lots of strikeouts, pretty productive, but I don't think he's the guy we want. And at third base, we've been linked to Max Muncy, low average, high strikeouts, $10 million contract, and my guess is the Dodgers would want Andres Munoz, and I don't think the Mariners would be wise in letting him go. That leaves us with a third baseman, Yoan Moncada, who's a free agent, ex of the White Sox. Since Josh Rojas just signed with the White Sox, that would be a relatively odd trade of free agents. But he's another guy with big strikeouts, limited power, and he's in the Luis Urias vein where he had one good year. So the real question is, why haven't the Mariners done anything? Been linked to a lot of guys. Less than a half a year ago, talked about how much money we had to spend, and then that changed. As an outsider, I can only speculate about why the Mariners haven't done anything, really. Number one is I think they're waiting for the Roki Sasaki fallout. If the Mariners get him, they'd be willing to trade Miller or Wu, which would bring back a very nice haul in return. Or they might be able to trade Luis Castillo to somebody who doesn't get Roki Sasaki, but they need to be able to bring in a player of some kind of major league stature and a number 3 starter, or it doesn't make any sense. Philosophically, I think we've heard Jerry say in the past, the best move is often the one that you don't make. We're not going to move any of the prospects or the young pitchers, and that leaves our options very limited because what the Mariners want to keep is what other teams would want. Plus, I think we can add in a hangover from last year where the attitude is we were so close last year, we only missed the playoffs by a game. We don't need to do much to be just good enough to make the playoffs, and just good enough seems to be a lot of the Mariner philosophy. But I think more than anything else, the Mariner front office is looking at it as we've already improved the team. We did it last year. We brought in Edgar Martinez. Our hitting philosophy was more effective the last 6 weeks. We're going to carry that on. And we've changed over the roster already. Last year we started the year with Dominic Canzone in left field, and now we have Randy Arozarena. Last year we had right fielder Mitch Haniger starting out there. This year we'll have Victor Robles. And at first base last year we had Ty France, and this year we'll have Luke Raley and whoever's going to be our right-handed first baseman / DH. And that we can expect bounce-back years from Julio, from JP, and from Mitch Garver. I think it's building a castle on the sand. If all of those things pan out, maybe the Mariners are just good enough. But what if JP or Mitch Garver repeat their season, or both of them do, or both of them plus Julio do? What if Victor Robles doesn't have a full season like he had the last 2 months last year when he had the best 2 months of his career? I think that could be likely. Maybe Randy Arozarena is really on the slide. His batting average continues to drop. It didn't pick up when he came to Seattle. He could be a lot more hype than production. Every guy in our lineup still is going to be a guy that has probably over 150 strikeouts if he has 500 at-bats. The K's are still going to kill the team. What if Cal Raleigh doesn't repeat the durability and or the production that he gave the team last year when he threw this team on his back and carried them? Tough to do, though, when you're a .220 hitter. What if we don't improve the bullpen? And what if we still go out there with 5 or 6 guys still in the low 200s for their batting averages? That is not going to bode well either. Any one of those things could be fatal. 2 or 3 or 4 of them will make it so we don't really have any kind of a chance. And that takes me to my final point. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go out on a limb and tell you, you heard it here first. What the Mariners are going to do down the stretch here in the offseason is pretty simple, I think, to see. They are going to make a free agent signing. They're going to bring in Yoan Moncada to be the third baseman, which is going to be a downgrade from where we were last year at third base. Dylan Moore is going to be the full-time second baseman, with Ryan Bliss playing second base when Dylan plays somewhere else to give somebody a day off. We're not going to change anything when it comes to our catchers or to our designated hitter. And I also think that it'll be Tyler Locklear splitting time with Luke Raley at first base. That's what the lineup's going to look like. I think the Mariners have done very little. They will do very little else. That's what we're going to open the season with. Thank you for listening and watching Matt and the M's. Please continue to like, to subscribe to the YouTube channel, to share, to comment. I'll talk to you again next week. In the immortal words of Babe Ruth, this is Matt signing off saying so long.